Welcome into another edition of the Wolves Athletics Show. We're pleased to be joined by our newest head men's soccer coach, Dan Rodrigues. And Coach, we appreciate you stopping by. How's everything going?
Good, Brian. Thank you.
You know, how's the process have been going? You know, you've been on campus now. I said it's been weird to think a couple of months already, but what's kind of been the transition like going for you, just getting here and, you know, kind of getting everything in place?
Everything's been going real positive. I mean, the transition for not just myself, but my family, starting a new program and doing all the small things have been going pretty well. Everything's going pretty quick. As we know, time goes by, so we kind of have to be really on it. The nice thing is the community and the school itself seems to be really embracing the idea of the men's soccer team joining. So we've been really fortunate to be able to move kind of quickly, and there is no shortage of good soccer players out there that want to attend as good student athletes here at WOU, so I'm really proud of that.
I remember this was a position, you know, we've talked about that you had looked at, you know, a few years ago, hoping that eventually Western Oregon would bring this program back and get it going. And so what is it like to go from that process of, you know, 2, 3, 4 years back to now actually being here and living in that position? What has that all been like to actually see it come to fruition?
It's been great. I manifested it when I first opened another program here in Oregon in 2015. I said when I left that program that I'm going to make sure my journey includes the fact that I want it to become full circle and come back to Oregon at a higher level. And Division II is really where I wanted to always be. Luckily, when this position opened, an alumni reached out to my in-laws. My in-laws reached out to me, and things moved pretty quickly with the movement of the interview process, the application process. And from the moment that I got on campus, to be fair, and I was very confident that I could do the job and be the guy here. And I'm very lucky and blessed that I am the guy, and I've been embracing the responsibility of doing it. And again, I've been grateful to have a lot of positive support in doing this job.
You know, you've been very active on the recruiting trail, and of course you had to be because, you know, you had 0 players when you got here. So, you know, you had to stay after it right when you got here. So what has it been like being on the recruiting trail? You know, we've seen you be active. You've been going to a lot of different places. I mean, what's kind of been the response to, you know, Western Oregon, not just here regionally, but when you've gone out to, you know, kind of the broader states to mention what we're all about here?
I think Western Oregon has a pretty good reputation itself in the other sports as well. I think all the staffs here are very strong and very competitive. So going out and finally having the men's soccer badge on, I've been, again, a lot of people have been welcoming. And again, student athletes see a new school, it's a frenzy. You know, everybody wants to come in and play and try to be at that level. Unfortunately, not everybody is at that level, so we have to be pretty picky in how we've been doing in our actual process of recruitment and what students fit. And I think people have been really honest. Some students feel like it's been a really good fit, and others say, hey, you know, I think I'm going to look another way. There's no shame in that. I want people who want to be here like I wanted to be here. Otherwise, I don't know why they would even bother. So again, the recruiting trail has been hot. We're not quite done yet, but it will be something that I think will be very fruitful once the fall comes.
You know, we've really enjoyed already mentioning a lot of your athletes, and I've sent out stories on 21 of them so far. I know you've got over 40, you know, that have committed. I know you're still, you know, actively searching for that. But that group, what was kind of your target plan going in? You know, did you have a strategy going in of really what kind of type of players you wanted? Did you want to really go more regionally? Did you want to spread out more, or was it just kind of, you know, kind of get the best fit of possible players that you could get in any position?
I feel like what I wanted was an extremely diverse team. And I wanted people from all different areas. I mean, I've gone as far as Wyoming and Colorado and Arizona. I've spoken to players in Florida and other places, but I also wanted to make sure that I did get a good regional sense of student athletes that wanted to be here, be a little closer to home, up and down the I-5. I really went after good, solid people. Soccer and stuff I can teach, and I'm not worried about that piece as much, but I wanted a little bit of a balance. I really want a family type of system, a really family type oriented type of team, and I think I've got that, and I think I'm very proud of the kids and the student athletes and all the young men. It's been very responsive, as well as their families, very, very supportive, very, very responsive. Many of them happen to be some alumni from the school from years ago, so I think I'm on the right path, and I think we'll be competitive, and I think we'll be not just competitive on the field, but very much competitive in the classroom, which I think I'm most proud about, because at the end of the day, I want these kids to graduate and move on.
You know, we saw too, you had a camp when you first got here, you know, on campus, and that was really well received. You know, you had a lot of athletes and show up for that. I mean, how nice was that to kind of have that as kind of your kickstart to, you know, getting here on campus, kind of your first event that you were able to run here at WU before, you know, you went out on the recruiting trail? It
was great because the weather actually held out a little bit, which was good. We had over 80 student athletes come and participate. I look forward to doing another camp here pretty shortly. I believe in May we might have our last one for this year, but overall it felt good. The energy was right. The staff that we had brought in to help us out with it was right. Again, and the administration has been great about helping and supporting us in any area that we potentially need help in. And everybody's really open-minded. So again, it felt really good. The energy was right, and just imagining what it's going to be like in the fall when we first kick off, it'll be something special, historical.
You think back to, coming in and starting a program leaves you kind of a lot of different avenues you can go down, right? Because you're coming in, kind of putting your fingerprint on it. There's really nobody that's been before you to kind of run that program for, so many years. So I mean, how much did it help you, being at Eastern Oregon, where you had a chance to kind of put that program together there to then, kind of transition that here, having had that in your background in your past?
Oh, I think it was super helpful, not only knowing the region as far all the way out as Eastern Oregon and above and below it, but at the same time, again, great people over there, very, very supportive group. They wanted the same ideas as this school, this institution wants. So again, it was really helpful. I was able to take that and also within my travels of the other places I've been, kind of polish it up and be more targeted about what the things I wanted to do here with expectation and maybe even knowing a little bit of what I could foretell what's going to happen. So again, I think that was super helpful. But this space is a little different. There's a little bit more to work with here. So I think it's also, again, another full circle moment for me in my career and as well as my family.
And it seems like, the Pacific Northwest has been, a draw for you over the years. We've seen not just with being at Eastern Oregon, but, also the clubs, you coach out throughout this region. Was that always kind of a goal for you to kind of get back in this area and kind of, use those connections you've had over the years of knowing everybody through the soccer community?
Very much so. As again, I've said before, time goes by. So when I started as a teen, not just playing, but coaching and getting my network, now I'm nearly 50 years old. So that network has grown substantially. And I used to be and I still am very proud of the student athletes that we were helped building and growing out of the clubs and not only pushing them to other schools, but seeing how they carried on with their lives as young adults. Now I get to benefit from that, from the club all the way through the young adult stage to graduation. And that's what I always wanted. I was happy to grow the kids in the club, but I never really got to see the end results until later on. Now I get to grow them through a club, help them attain whatever goals they want, whether it's at my institution or another. But then again, I get to see what the end product is. And to be fair, I'm very proud of many of the over 300 student athletes I've worked with in the past and how it's worked out, both genders as well.
How different have you seen it too? Because when you think about Eastern Oregon, of course, NAI, now you're at D2 here. What's kind of been the level of the response? Has it seemed different for you when you go out and you see a recruit that goes, hey, now you're at the D2 level? Of course, that's a little bit higher up. You're going to face different competition. There's going to be, different scouts, different people that follow that region. You're going to play a lot of different teams. So how much does that kind of seen, with your recruiting kind of gain and that value with being at the D2 level?
I think it's much more helpful in a way. I mean, the blue bubble is very important for people, the NCAA bubble. I do believe that all levels are very strong, and I do believe student athletes can play at all levels. They can fit at all levels. They have to find what they want. But in the recruiting aspect, I do think it helps. I do think having a new program under NCAA D2 is very alluring to many student athletes. But again, I see it, and even in recruiting, it is more competitive at this level. Essentially you're looking at the D1 athletes, and not everybody can play D1, so you're the next tier right below it. And at the same time, I think student athletes are, again, attracted to try to get as close to that D1 level as possible. And some just understand that D2 is where they need to be, and that's good for me. And those conversations are very strong. And again, it's been helpful recruiting at this level in all aspects.
How much do you think it helped too? Because your stop before you came here was a regional school, in the West region at Cal State Dominguez Hills. How valuable was that experience to be an assistant coach there? Because now you're in the region as the head coach. You're going to see a lot of those teams that you saw throughout during your time there. Kind of get familiar with all the GNAC schools that you're going to be facing, throughout your schedule coming up here.
I think it's hugely beneficial. The CCAA is extremely competitive. As we know, the national champions came from there, the national finalists, and pre-pandemic came from there. Being at Dominguez Hills was an enormous goal of mine as a young athlete myself. That's kind of where I wanted to go when I was born and raised in LA. So being there as a coach and being able to regionally recruit for them was helpful. And now it's even been more helpful because a lot of the student athletes that I know that have known me from there are the ones that followed me and followed my career and are coming to the school to attend here. So, there's a big trust and a big loyalty piece. And again, I wish Dominguez Hills the absolute best, and I'm proud of what I helped to build there with their coaching staff. And I know they're proud of me, and I know they're looking forward to seeing what we can do here as well.
Now let's take it way back to when you first got going, when you really thought that soccer might be something you'd want to do as a profession. What kind of came around to like, hey, I want to be a head soccer coach, and when did that kind of come? As a time through your life, and then how much have you enjoyed that, being able to do it as long as you have?
After my last professional tryout, I was pretty wrecked. My younger brother, who was 12 at the time, said to me, "Oh, you'll be fine. You're just going to coach." And I said, "What? I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm not sure how that's going to pay the bills or anything like that." And later on, as I started coaching club and built my reputation in club and became a DLC, things again started kind of building up. I wanted more. And in 2008, my wife goes, "Do you do what you have to do to go chase that?" And she gave me the blessing to basically put the brakes on everything else and chase the carrot of what I wanted to do. And again, it's been a blessing and it's been a huge manifestation that's come full circle. And we're here, and we talk about that very much so about how the process worked, but we're here. So now that we're here, we're taking all the benefits and everything in as much as we can, and we're going to put out a good product in the fall.
All right, Coach. Well, we really appreciate you stopping by and sharing all your insights. It's great getting to know you throughout this past few months, and we're really looking forward to seeing what will happen with the men's soccer program in the fall. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again here soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
And we continue here on the Wolves Athletics Show. We're pleased to be joined by our newest head women's volleyball coach, Coach Kaiao. And Coach, we appreciate you stopping by. How's everything been going?
Brian, aloha. Everything's been great. It's been a blessing to be here.
We're really glad to have you here. You've been hitting the ground running. It's probably weird to think, right? You've already been on campus now for a month. How's kind of been your transition going from being here at Monmouth and getting used to being the head coach here at Woo?
Nothing short of incredible. I mean, you never quite know when you're a new coach in a new team how, especially, the facts are we were last place in the league, right? So you never know what the team's going to be like. Brian, they are motivated, they're excited for the future, they're ready to move on, and things are looking up here at Western Oregon. It's been fun getting adjusted, getting to know you, Brian, and a lot of people across campus, and so, very lucky, very blessed, and happy to be here.
Yeah, Kyle, it's been great to get your positive energy here. You bring that can-do attitude. It's always fun to go down to your office. I know you're always positive and you always bring good insight, so it's nice having you down the hallway there to spend time with you. But I'm sure that's resonated with the girls. I mean, how nice has it been being around the team now? You've been able to see a lot of them, kind of watch them in practice and look at some of their film. How encouraged are you by this team? Because we have a really young team that really showed a lot of flashes towards the end of last year of what kind of potential they can reach.
Well, Brian, thank you for the compliment, and I appreciate you. You also have that aloha spirit, so that's awesome as well, and love going down to your office. And you hit the nail on the head there with our team. I mean, we're young, and I think when you're young too, it's easy for us to be eager, and so that's been very motivating for me and our coaching staff. We've come in here and been excited by our team's willingness to listen and be coachable and improve. I mean, the only way is up for us. So. There's so many players that are putting in the work, not just on the court, but also in the weight room. So that's really exciting. And, there's so much for us to learn. So it's fun coming to the gym every single day, feeling like, hey, like today's a new chapter. Today's, still unwritten. It's awesome for us to feel that excitement every single day.
And I'm sure you were familiar, like we talked about before, being in the region. You knew a lot of these players before, whether they chose to go, to Concordia or they chose to go somewhere else in the GNAC or to come here at Western Oregon. You got to see a lot of these players play throughout their careers. How nice is it to be here with them and to realize, your team's pretty much coming all the way back. We're only going to lose a few players. So there's not a lot to, have to really adjust there as far as, filling out a roster. It's just, a few pieces here and there. So how exciting is that to know you've got a group that's, coming back and that's, young and hungry?
It's great. Like you mentioned, I've been in this league before with Concordia University before it closed down, and then also 1 year at St. Martin. So very familiar with the league and the players in the league. And, specifically for our team, we were just recently talking about Mac York, kid we really wanted at Concordia, but hey, we've come full circle here at Western Oregon. And then Carly Cox, who was on our Concordia team, decided to come here. And so it's been great working with her again. And then Emily Olson is a kid who, I specifically recruited and she was going to come to Concordia. And then now she's here. So it's weird how life works. It's weird how, everything sort of falls into place. And, this being, my next head coaching stop and a place that I plan to be here at a long, long time, I'm excited. I'm excited to build, not just to turn things around here in the short term, but also build for some long-term success. I mean, we've had some successful volleyball teams here in the past, and we want to get back to honoring that Western Oregon volleyball legacy.
Even before we get to the fall, you still got this spring season coming up. How excited are you looking forward to seeing that, especially as a new coach, coming in here and just kind of seeing what your players can do? I mean, how much are you going to kind of use that as a, gauge to kind of help your team get ready for the fall?
Matt, I believe in the spring and spring games so much so we had to add another spring competition date. And so it's one thing to beat up on each other in your own practice gym. It's another thing to go out there and show your stuff against other people. And that's going to be a good relationship building moment for the team and for me, right? I mean, it's one thing to coach them up in practice. It's another thing to be their coach and lead alongside them during a match. So we've got 3 playing days, and we host a playing day on May 7th. And any of you out there watching this video want to come by, please come by, man. We hope to put on a very entertaining style of volleyball, and not just in the spring, but hopefully we're building for the fall.
How much did it help too? We talked about, of course, your ties to the GNAC, being at Concordia, and then being at St. Martin's, and also your stop at Lewis and Clark being in the region. How much did that help, with your familiarity being in this region, being in the Pacific Northwest, draw you to this position when it opened, and then kind of, helped you once you got it? Like, hey, I've got the connections already. I already know this region, and, made it kind of that easier, kind of a smoother transition for you to come into this position.
Brian, I believe in being relationship oriented and the power of people and being connected, and so that's something I've bought into in my coaching career. And like you mentioned, just when you connect with people in the region, so to speak, and it pays off. There's a lot of great club and high school coaches we're connecting with, and relationships that we're tapping into, that I've built over a long career here in the Pacific Northwest. So, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for people to begin to believe in this program again. I coached against Western Oregon for many years, and I always thought, like, man, if I could coach that team, that'd be something special. And so, like I said earlier in this interview, like, the stars have seemed to align, the plans in place, and so we're excited. We're excited for the spring for sure. We got to put in that work, but once the fall comes around, man, it's going to be awesome.
And let's kind of take us back to, you're hearing about maybe the Western Oregon job being open, you're at Lewis and Clark, what kind of first entered your mind of like, hey, I want to maybe go for that position, and then walk us through that, and then when you actually, get the position and got here on campus, just kind of walk through that whole process and how exciting it was to, fulfill that and actually be the head coach here.
For sure. I very much loved and appreciated my time at Lewis and Clark and everyone who supported me there. And just like in the recruiting process for potential student athletes, the same is true for coaches and coaching staff. It's really important to know what you're looking for and what your fit is, right? And the Division II model and being in the GNAC and being here in the Pacific Northwest, man, it just calls to me. It's all about balance, but also competing very, very hard and loving your experience. And so, going through the recruiting or going through the hiring process here, I decided to be as transparent and as me as possible. Decided to say, hey, here are the things I believe in. I believe in team. Believe in being relationship oriented. I believe that it's not about the wins and the losses. It's about who we become in the process. And if we buy into the people stuff, I think that always is a path that leads to some wins in the win-loss column. So when I got here, Randy was very welcoming. So was Jasmine, and everybody in the admin and in the office. And once I left my interview and sort of said, hey, I left it all on the table, and if it's going to be a good match, then it's going to be exactly what Western Oregon is looking for. And hey, I was hired, and we've hit the ground running, and I feel nothing but support and love and aloha, and we've been off to a great start, so it's been great.
Yeah, it's totally been a great start. I said we're glad to have you here, and it's been exciting times, I think, definitely for our volleyball program. But going back through just kind of all of that, what kind of really led you to come to the mainland here, and eventually you went to your undergrad at Concordia? What kind of led you to choose that as your school, to first come over here and then end up staying in this region?
Sure, yeah. Well, it's tough to leave home, right? It's tough to leave a place like Hawaii. And
I heard it's just terrible there.
yeah, I see. Yeah, it's terrible. Oh, gosh. And so, the big calling for me was to, hey, we've got to broaden our horizons. I am who I am because of everybody who raised me in Hawaii. And it was time to go out and make them proud. And, if you think about where I'm from, specifically on the Big Island, there's one college, right? University of Hawaii Hilo. But here in the mainland, there was a lot of possibilities to kind of pursue this career field of coaching. And so we just immersed ourselves in it, jumped right in. And hey, one thing has led to another for me to end up here at Western Oregon. And so, like you said, it is very terrible in Hawaii, but Western Oregon, here in Monmouth is very beautiful as well. So it's great.
And last thing for you here too, Coach, we got, what kind of got you to be a volleyball coach? I know you've always been around the sport. I mean, what kind of thought, when you were growing up, hey, I want to be maybe a coach or fall into that? How kind of did that align for you growing up?
Sure. Well, I appreciate you asking that because it's always nice to kind of tip your hat and pay your respects to the people who've taken care of you over time. And so, there were many a volleyball coach and in general coaches and mentors in my life who helped guide me. And there was such an impact that was made on my life by coaches and mentors and different leadership people in my life that I just thought, hey, I wonder if that could be a career path for me, right? And then once I kind of immersed myself in it, there was nothing that I've done in my life that's made me feel more fulfilled and driven with purpose, and I feel like I do a good job of at it as well. And so, as I continue to kind of plug away at coaching and getting my reps and putting years under my belt, it's only my love for this career and this path has only grown. And so, thank you to many of my coaches and mentors that I've had in my life. I hope to make you proud while I'm here.
All right, Coach. Well, we really appreciate you stopping by. Great as always spending some time with you, learning more about you and your path to getting to Western Oregon. I know we're all excited about the future of WU Volleyball here, and we look forward to talking to you more about it. And again, thanks for stopping by. We look forward to seeing everything going on here in the future.
Right on. Thanks, Brian. Aloha.